In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to do some basic functions in RDWorks. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make some text here. So I'm going to click on my text tool and click anywhere inside of my workspace. It's going to bring up this text box here, and I can go ahead and change my fonts to whatever I want. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Rockwell Extra Bold. And here's the text that I'm going to be doing, so I'm going to leave it like that and say OK. So there's my text, and I can grab the corner here and just make it a little bit larger so we can see. And then if you look over here, you can see I have my first layer. So this is my text layer, and as you can see, my outline is purple, and so is my layer. So if we brought another layer in here, such as, let's say we want to do a cutout of this with a square or a rectangle, nothing has changed because they're both the same color. So if we wanted to change the speed and power settings for the square and make them different from the text, we can go ahead and select the square and change it to a different color like orange. And then as you can see up here with our layers, we have two different layers. And in this layer mode, we can switch between the two, of which one starts first and which one starts second. And then if we click on the cut of that layer, it'll bring up the parameters for that layer. So we can set up our speed and we can set up our power. And we want to always make sure that we don't have this second option checked. We always want to have just the one option checked. And generally, the max power and minimum power, unless you're doing cutting, should always match. And we can also go up to process mode and switch to scan if we would like. Now, BMP files cannot switch between scan and cuts. Only DXF files can switch between scan and cuts. So I'm going to leave that as a scan for now. So we'll engrave the text and leave the orange, which is the box, as a cutout. So now we'll go through a couple other settings over here in the toolbox. And I'll select my text here, or my whole image, and we'll go over to the matrix copy, and we'll select matrix copy. And what matrix copy does is it will make copies of the image that you have selected. So if we want 2 rows and 2 columns, a 1/4 inch apart, both between the rows and the columns, and press OK, it'll duplicate the image, and we can then take this individual image and move them around as we need to. Now, if we come back over to our toolbar over here, we also have the ability to put this data right in the center. So if you had 2 layers that you wanted to overlap directly, we could just click this button and it'll put it right to the center. Then if I go ahead and select my text, you can see we have a vertical mirror, and we also have the horizontal mirror. So if we need to flip our text to put it on a cup or put it on the back of a mirror, then we can go ahead and do that there. We can also come up here, as you've seen, and use text. Now, we don't generally suggest using this text option only because you are limited to how you can manipulate the text. So most of the time we suggest doing that in CorelDRAW. We also have the ability to do a circle if we would like, and also make lines, or we can make our own shape if we would like with connecting lines. And then we also have our select or our mouse option, so we can go back to selecting our objects, and our shaping tool, so we can grab different parts of the nodes and shape our objects. Then if we come up to this higher toolbar up here, we have a couple different options. So if we wanted to start over new, we could just click on new, and we could choose to save this file or say no, and we start fresh. We have our save, so we can save this directly out of RDWorks. And when you save directly out of RDWorks, you actually save everything about that file as far as the speed, power, and interval, and the origin setting that you had. So if you had an image that you just wanted to rerun multiple times, you could just open the file in RDWorks and then send it directly over to the machine because it will already have all of its previous settings set. Then we have our import button and our export button, and our forward and backwards. So we can go back and get rid of that square. We have our zoom options. We can fit to page, zoom out, zoom in, and then move freely. We also have our preview option. So this will show you exactly what it's going to engrave or cut and the travel of the laser head itself. So if I click preview and come over to simulation, you can see it's going to trace the square because it's going to do a cut. Now if we switch this back over to a scan, press OK and do a preview, it's going to fill the box instead of cutting out the box. Now we also have an option to group objects. So right now we can grab each individual object, but if we highlight both objects and come up to our group, now they are both one object and we cannot select each one individually. If we want to break them back apart, just come up and do ungroup, and we can reselect our images separately. And then we have our origin setting. So right now it's set in the bottom left hand corner, so we can come up to our configuration setting, do system setting, and then we have our 9 different options of where we can put our origins locations. So I'm going to leave it at center. As you can see, my origin has switched to center. Then we also have the ability to rotate our item. So if we were doing a cup or a glass and it's on the rotary tool and the glass is sideways, then we would want to rotate our image to fit on that glass. So we can come up here and say we want to rotate this 90 degrees. And as you can see, it rotated for us. We could also do it negative 90 degrees as well. And then if we wanted to, we can come up to our draw and we can do a range, and we can center it to page or to the top left, top right, bottom left. So those are some really basic functions of RDWorks, and I hope you enjoyed.